Roth in Germany. Once a year, this small German community becomes the mecca for triathlon in Europe, if not the world. You might be wondering why. Four-time Ironman Europe winner Jürgen Zach tells us why he is competing. He says, originally I was only coming to compete and concentrate in Hawaii this year, but I changed my mind because the race in Roth is so much fun for me. A season without Roth would not be complete. And Ute Muckel, the 96 champion, also tells us why she's competing. Every year that I come back to Roth, it feels as though I'm at home and everyone recognizes me and it gives me a great feeling. All around the organization, the spectators are so good, they give me the goosebumps, that tingling feeling. I look forward to Roth every year. Well, the crowd and the sport here in Roth are the best anywhere in triathlon. Welcome everyone to the 12th Ironman Europe. It's now 6 a.m. in the morning, and a very famous German, Eberhard Ginger, was the first gymnast to undertake a one-handed circle on the high bar, should I say. He drops in. He's still very popular in Germany, is Ginger, but he really does get the 12th Ironman Europe underway. The elite men, women, and the 65-year-olds will be getting ready to start in the Rhine-Main-Donau Canal. In the past, we've had something like 2,700 competitors in this race. It is the largest Ironman in the world. There's one of the favorites, Jürgen Zach, talking to one of the organizers before he gets in the water. But this year, we have 2,100 starters. Something like 250 in this first wave. Multitude of caps to look out for. The yellow cap, well, that's Ute Muckel. And right beside her in green is Andreas Nierdrig. We just saw 52 in the background. That's Joanna King, the world short course champion. In orange, that's Jürgen Zach. Right beside him, wearing number 2, is Christoph Mauk from Switzerland. And in black, Thomas Elrigo. So what a sight. What a sight for sore eyes as they now get underway for the 12th Ironman Europe. The opening, same distance in the Ironman. It's a 2.4 mile swim, 3.8 kilometers down and back of the Rhine-Main-Donau Canal. We've had something like 3 different swims here over the 12 years that we've been coming to Roth. This year we're back in the canal, the Rhine-Main-Donau Canal. We've been in the Roth Sea, which is just the other side, and we've been the other side of the barrage. So this is the wave going up. You can see the sun has just risen. Many of the athletes were here in the dark, waiting for this race to get underway. And of course, it'll be another hour or so before the last wave of 10 gets underway. This year, they've given a pretty big buffer to the start opening wave, the professionals and the oldie-goodies, those over 65. You can see already they're stretching out as they head their way up the canal. You'll see as we get into it, they actually lane it. It's like one big swimming pool here, and they go down the right-hand side, turn around the end, then come back. But the early leaders, well, it looks as though that's in green, Andreas Nierdrig from Germany, and right beside him was John Van Wies from Australia. In yellow, Ute Muckel in 3rd position, and the blue of Roche Meinerdijk, and Rainer Müller-Horner is in 4th position. He was the red. Alexander Muger is behind him in the German, and Markus Schnattner from Germany. But you can see they're already getting spread out all over the place. Huge crowds. This is Nierdrig in 2nd position. Finished 3rd here last year, and is not his fastest time. He was faster the year before. So you can see the second wave are getting ready to start. They don't go for another 15 minutes or so. As our leaders now are heading up the channel. So let's just have a look at it. And this is how tough and rough it is. Christoph Mauk in yellow and in orange, the favorite, I suppose, Jürgen Zach, are all over each other. Zach goes under there, and in fact it caused him a problem. His wetsuit became undone a little bit, and he started to take on board water early on. So we're now up the canal, and Van Wies, the Australian specialist in long distance swimming, is leading from this man. Andreas Nierdrig. Mentioning Van Wies, the long-distance specialist, I understand he did win a gold medal in the recent World Championships last year, and they took place in Perth. That was over the 20 kilometers, if I remember correctly. So Van Wies is at the turn, and he's got maybe I would think a good 30 seconds over Neerdrick, who has at least that over the chase pack, which contains well, there we are, it's 25 seconds between Neerdrick and Van Vies, who's leading. This is Neerdrick coming up, and you can see the chase pack, which includes the likes of Thomas Hellriegel and indeed the lead woman, Ute Muckel, are way off. There's Muckel going through the picture with Rainer Müller-Horner. That's him in red. Alexander Muger, Markus Schnatzer, right at the back in black. Very good swim by Thomas Hellriegel. I was talking to Thomas a couple of days before the event, and he said, I have really been working on my swimming, and he thinks he can come out at least 2 minutes faster than he's done before. And normally Zach is in that pack, but he's not. Zach is way off the back. That open wetsuit is certainly causing him some problems. This is the group with Zach, and there he is in the middle. He's taking water on board. Looks like the second woman, Nina Kraft, is right in front of him, but this is our leader. This is John Van Vies from Australia. Very powerful swimmer. You can see the power as he lifts himself out. That's when the stroke is at the bottom, and that's when they generate the power. So he's coming back towards the end of the opening 3.8 kilometer swim. Just see the finish there. Huge crowds. There's something like 20 or 30,000 people just gathered around this start-finish area. They really do love their the sport here. But over the years, it's proved that really you should take this sport to the smaller communities, because they really do take it to heart. So this is Van Vies coming out of the water. He's out in around about 45 minutes, 45:43. The course record is 43:35, set back in '97 by Michael Prufert from Germany. As Van Vies makes his way up into the transition area, this is our second athlete out, Andreas Neerdrick. He's over a minute back. He's well over a minute back. He's going to be out in around about just under 47 minutes. And that's not his best here, but it's a good swim by Neerdrick. I think he was looking to be a little closer, but of course John Van Vies is an unknown quantity on the bike and the run. We know he's a specialist swimmer. They say he's not a bad triathlete overall, but his strength certainly is the swim section. And we know that Andreas Neerdrick, who finished earlier this year in the fifth in Ironman, in fact third in Ironman New Zealand. So he's now in the transition area, and we've got a bit of a wait before we get that chase pack. So it's a long run now up to the changing tent. He's picked up his gear for the bike section. His helmet will be on the bike waiting for him, as will his cycling shoes. I mentioned it's a long run. It certainly is, isn't it? So this is Van Vies. He's now at his bike. Number 26 is on his way, starting the second discipline, the 180 kilometers, 112 miles of biking. This is a chase pack, including Alexander Muger and Rolf Schmiederdijk, who are on the front. And in yellow, that's the first woman. That's Ute Muckel, and she's going to be out in 48 minutes and 46 seconds. The record for the woman is her record of 47:56, so she's only just over a minute off her own record. Also in that pack was Frank Heldorn, was out in 48:53, but this is our lead woman making that long haul now up. Here's Thomas Hellriegel. He was in that chase pack as well. He was 11th out of the water in 48:56. Well, I don't think Hellriegel's ever swum anywhere near that quickly before. Lead second woman, Nina Kraft, on the end, on the left of the picture, with Christoph Mauk and Jürgen Zach here. And they're quite a bit off the pace. 50:56 for Kraft. Mauk was 50:56 as well, and Zach 3 seconds slower. So Zach is already over 2 minutes behind Thomas Hellriegel. That's Norman Stadler took the bag of Christoph Mauk by mistake, as Hellriegel now runs out of the transition area. Norman Stadler, better known as a duathlete. He's of course the world duathlon champion from back in '96, I think it was, in Tasmania. This is Christoph Mauk on the bike. And Zach is a little slower. You can see Zach's soft ride there just beside him. So Zach is certainly slow through. Here's Zach coming through. So he's lost a little bit more time. But look at that for speed through. Straight in, straight out. There's Ingo Sabadashus. I think, no, it's Eric Kappers in the grey-coloured suit. This is Norman Stadler. And Bent Andersen of Denmark just beside him in red. Looking across, this is Nina Kraft, the second woman. She's at the bike part. Ute Muckel's already gone out onto the to start her bike ride. The top seed, Fernanda Keller from Brazil, that's her bike on the right. She wears number 51. She's not even anywhere near out of the swim yet. 2 or 3 of the women are already out, but Nina Kraft is going to be second away for the women. She's now going to chase Uta Mukul. So she sets off now on the 112-mile bike ride. Not allowed to ride in the transition as our riders now go across the bridge. Look at the crowds out here. It really is tremendous support for these athletes, and that's the sort of the signature of this course. Spectators, they really do love their triathlon here, and you'll see how they enjoy themselves throughout this race as we get more into the program. They cross the canal, then turn sharp left. This is the world short course champion from Luzerne last year, Joanne King from Australia. She's at the bike. She was 53 minutes 17. She was third fastest out of the water, but she's 4 minutes and 32 seconds behind the German swim specialist Uta Mukul, who of course had won this race once before, back in 1996. So this is the bike course. 2 big laps and then a short sprint into the finish back in Roth. And we've already got a new leader in the men's race. It's Andreas Neerdrik. Already John Van Vies has been passed by Neerdrik in the first 5 kilometers as he makes his way up one of the first climbs early on in this bike course. So 180 kilometers. That's going to take them over 4 hours. The bike course record here is 4 hours 14:45 by Thomas Hellriegel. This is Van Vies, the early swim leader. And he looks a bit casual, doesn't he, on the bike? Very upright, not a very good aerodynamic position as Markus Schattner goes past him of Germany, who was 7th out of the swim. So already he's caught up, something like 2.5 minutes. Thomas Hellriegel, we saw him wearing a jacket early on, has dispensed with that. It's warming up, and certainly the pace is warming up. So this is Hellriegel trying to catch that lead group, as is Jürgen Zach. The Zach attack, he's on the move. He is one of the most powerful bikers in the sport of triathlon, and you can see why that is. Third woman, Joanne King, the world short course specialist, having to go at this Ironman. And as she goes on her way, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll see a little more bike.
In an extraordinary adventure beyond life and time, an awesome discovery is about to be made.
It does exist.
Now, Eurosport invites you to take part in a competition that offers you a chance to win a week's trip to Morocco and explore the locations of the Mummy. To enter the competition, answer the following question. Who built the pyramids? Was it the Romans, the Egyptians, the Greeks? Call the Eurosport hotline now for your chance to win this once-in-a-lifetime trip. The Mummy.
The 12th running of the Ironman Europe in Roth, Germany. We're with the lead woman, Uta Mukul. She was first out of the water. She won this event back in 1996. When she went 9 hours, 21 minutes and 30 seconds. Conditions are ideal today, and I suspect she's looking to go a little quicker. We talked to her before the event about her race tactics.
Ja, das ist richtig.
And she says, well, I hope to come first out of the water. She's done that. And really all the others have to catch me. But really in these sorts of races, you've got to make your own race and not worry about the others. Because the race, you know, the day is very long, and the one who conserves their energy the best, well, they'll win. In second is Nina Kraft of Germany. She was second out of the water. I think she finished, what, 8th here last year. So Kraft has some form. She was invited by the race director Detlef Kunnel to come back and compete this year. This is the lead pack of men, and it looks as though 5 of them or so are in this lead group. Right at the back of the group is the Swiss athlete Christoph Mauk, who finished 4th in Hawaii last year. First time here. This is only his second Ironman, and we caught up with him and we said if he'd learned anything from Hawaii. And he says, well, you always learn something after a bad race, and for me Hawaii was a good experience, so I really didn't learn much from it. He says, I hope to have another good race here in Roth. And he says, my tactics are really to stick with Thomas Hellriegel and Jürgen Zak on the bike, and we'll see what happens on the run. Well, up in front of him in this lead group is also Andreas Niedrich of Germany. And he led for about 35 kilometers before the pack caught him. Hellriegel is in this lead pack as well. And he's looking around, he's anxious, he's waiting for Zak because he knows that Hellriegel and himself and Zak here, just moving by him, are going to have to make a break sometime if they're going to sort of set their stall to win this race. And of course, Zak has won this on 4 previous occasions, and poor old Hellriegel, of course, who's won the Hawaii Ironman. He was only the 2nd European ever to win that. There's only 2 of them have done it. He's never won here. His best was in 95 when he was 2nd, and in 97, would you believe, he went 7 hours 57 minutes and 21 seconds, and there ain't many who've broken the 8-hour barrier, and he finished 4th in that race. It was an incredible race. Really, really was the historic moment of the sport when the world record was set by Luc van Lierde. But leading this lead pack is Norman Stadler, Stormen Norman Stadler, he's better known as, and it's good to see Stadler competing in this high level of triathlons because he's a great duathlete. And he always told me, he said, well, sweet, he said, you know, I'm pretty good at the swimming lot, but no one gives me any credit. So they're on the second part of the opening lap, heading towards the Sololerberg hill, which is the signature point of this race. They estimate there's something like 20,000 people lining this route, and Stadler, who's leading the pack, is really going to have some adrenaline flowing by the time he gets to the top of this hill. I tell you, it's a bit of a grind up over, but with this number of people, it is, you've got to admit, we got the Tour de France coming up starting here on Eurosport on Saturday, and this is like the Tour de France. We get these crowds out on the Tour de France, even in this sort of drizzly and clement weather that we've got at the moment here. They've come out in their droves to support these athletes. That's Stadler on the front, there's Zak in the middle, we've got Thomas Hellriegel behind him with Niedrich, and on the front of that 3 is Christoph Mauk. So as Stadler comes up the bar, we talked to him about his approach to the race, and he says, well, after the swim, really I have to go as fast as I can on the bike and see if I can get to the front and lead. He says, I expect to be about 3 minutes behind the leaders after the swim. So the bike course here is very fast in Roth, and it suits me as you always have to push hard. He said, you know, even the descents are such that you have to go hard on these and not only the climbs. It should be good for me. Well, it is at the moment. He looks back as Jürgen Zak goes by him at the top of the Sololerberg climb. Of course, they've got to come around and do it all again on the second of these 2 laps. So it's about 85 kilometers per lap, with a 10-kilometer run into the finish at Roth, where they change from biker to runner for the final marathon run. So the lead group, still 5 athletes, all taking their share at taking the pace. You can see they're spread out quite a bit. Looks like Zak is moving through here, coming up through one of the many feed stations on the course. Just under 3 hours into the race, and let's see who's leading. It looks as though Christoph Mauk is leading. So I suppose he's the inexperienced of this group of 5, is starting to take it on, push the pace. Stadler's at the back there. Just in front of him was Zak and Hellriegel and Niedrich making up that lead group of 5. So Christoph Mauk, really specialist over the shorter distance, got very disenchanted with the way the sport was changing, the drafting at these shorter distance races, so he turned to the long course. This is Fernanda Keller of Brazil, of course, winner of the Brazil race a couple of times, the Ironman Brazil. She's 6 at the moment. She's on one of the climbs, and certainly one of the favorites here. And we caught up about how Hawaii has affected her.
I've had some very good results in Hawaii, and I love what I do, and this is a lot of motivation. But one day I want to race when I'm a lot older, and just for fun, because to be professional is too much pressure, and I'm sometimes jealous when I see people just racing for fun, going easy on the bike, because when you're a professional you have to go very hard.
Well, she is going hard, chasing the world champion, Joanne King here from Australia. Only been over here a few weeks, and she really has raced a lot. So she perhaps is one of the women for the future of the sport over the Ironman distance. We're lacking really class people, and we caught up with her and asked her a few questions. Well, this is your second Ironman this year?
Yeah, I did the Australian Ironman in May. I think it was May. So yeah, this is my second one for the year, and I hope to contest Hawaii later in the year.
What about defending your world title in Montreal?
Yeah, I'll be there for that as well, and I'm doing World Long Course Championships in 2 weeks.
Yeah, this is incredible. How many races do you think you'll race this year?
Oh, it depends, like what you call racing. I mean, I've done. This will be my. I've been in Europe for it'll be 5 weeks on Wednesday, and this is my 5th race. But I mean, the other 4 races, like I did Belgium ITU and won that. That was a race. I mean, I went pretty solid in that. But you know, the other 3, it sort of depends how you go into the race. If you just train through it, it's a bit different. Like if you just use it as a training race.
Well, using an Ironman as a training race, how about that? Well, this is the 4th woman in the women's division. It's Jodie Cross-Merckx, and I'm sure you recognise the name on the bike there, Eddie Merckx. Well, that's her father-in-law. She's married to Axel Merckx, the professional cyclist. Not sure if he's racing the Tour de France, but of course his father is. He's won, or has done, he's won, what a record, 5 times there. Up in 3rd position is Asa Andersson of Sweden. She was 4th out of the water. And she's well known to racing here in Germany and indeed roads. She races for the Witten Club. Up in 2nd place for the woman is still Nina Kraft, but she is closing on Ute Muckel, who's down the road a little bit. And Kraft, like a lot of these athletes, certainly in the women's field, are struggling really for sponsorship. They're finding it hard to keep going and be professional. But leading is Ute Muckel, first out of the water, but I think she's going to have some company fairly soon, because Kraft is grinding away behind her and closing that gap. So Muckel, who won this race in back in 1996, and with a weakened women's field here, I say weakened, with the likes of Joanne King, the world champion here, in what are only her 3rd Ironman, 2nd this year, and she's finished 2nd twice in Ironman Australia. I don't suppose you can say it's weak, but really the sport is changing the women's side. Well, of course, one thing that is famous for here is the beer mile at Extermühlen, or Eckersmühlen, should I say, and many other pints around the course. I like that. That's a Freudian slip. Great support, though. Great support from young, I suppose, to the old as well. They really do love it here in Roth. This is Rainer Müller going through. He's struggling a little bit. I did speak to him before, and he said he was really up for this one, but he's a bit off the pace at the moment. And if we look down through on his bike, he's got a new bit of kit. It's called the Power Drive, which has been tested on mountain bikes, and evidently gives 28% extra power, up to, and saves 20% of energy. And he says he's, you know, I've tried this new crank system a few weeks ago, and you know, I had a good feeling. It seems to give a very smooth and round pedal action, and well, we'll see how it works in this race. And the thing about this crank system is that it's not a solid rod between the pedals. It's a big spring, and as you go through the tough part of the bike action, the lower part, after 140 degrees down to 180, the spring actually helps you and brings you around, and it's been very successful on mountain bikes. And Rainer Müller is the first to try it in the triathlon, and I don't think there are any professional riders using it at the moment. So we're up front with the lead group. Helrigo's still looking around. He's anxious, I think, that it's about time someone's got to make a break. The rain is starting to fall, and certainly he doesn't like that. He doesn't like the code, but he is the weatherman. He carries a barometer around with him at these courses. I remember last year when it was really miserable, he told me the night before the race that I really don't have much chance tomorrow because it's going to be cold, wet and miserable, and that's not for me. He likes the warm weather, and of course we did see him win in the heat in Hawaii just a couple of years ago when he gave everyone their first German lesson. Well, he wasn't quite up to that form last year, and it was a little disappointing, really, that he didn't really show the form throughout last season. He said he changed a lot of things and it wasn't so good. But we spoke to him about this race, and he says, I hope not to lose too much time in the swim, and try to keep the lead on the bike, and if I can, get away from the others and try to keep the lead on the run. And also he says that before the race it's very difficult to say how well your race preparations have gone. But he says, I know my training has been very good. And I was always satisfied with it. But of course you only know during the race how everything has gone, and then you know for sure how your training went. Well, this is the alternate BMI here in Roth. Not quite as many people out, but they're just as supportive. They really do give the athletes some tremendous support. We've just seen that, heard by the commentator, that Zach is up there, as is Hellriegel. There's Hellriegel going through. Christoph Mauk is still in there. Nierdrich is still in there, but it looks as though, here he is, Norman Stadler has been blown out the back end. So Stadler's now been relegated to a clear 5th position. And that's surprising, because Stadler is a very strong biker, whether he's got some problems. Well, this is back with the lead group of women. I say group because Muckel has company, and the company is Nina Kraft. Nina Kraft just goes by. I don't know what they said, but of course they are both German, so I suspect it was something in their own language. So Muckel, who's led for some considerable time, we're now well into the opening lap of the bike course. In fact, they're coming up towards the closing stages of that opening lap. She's been passed by Nina Kraft, but I don't think that'll worry Muckel too much. I suppose it's nice that she does have some company, especially early in this part of the race. Well, the leaders are well into their second lap. The women are coming up to the end of the first lap, and we're going to go for a short break, then come back to the end of the bike and maybe the start of the marathon run to finish.
The Master Thief. Why are you following me?
I've got a proposition for you.
The ultimate prize.
$8 billion in total.
It's doable. Sean Connery, Catherine Zeta-Jones.
This is for real.
You're playing both sides.
Do you want him? I'm gonna get him for you.
Entrapment. Only in theaters.
When Daewoo designed their new small car, the Matiz, they designed it around the most vital components first. The people who'd be driving it. The new Daewoo Matiz, designed around you.
Welcome back to the Ironman in Roth, the Ironman Europe. A new feed this year, it's Powerade, a new drink by Harbar, and certainly Zach doesn't want much of it, does he? He's more concerned about his orange, or his apple, or his banana. This is Christoph Mauk though, and he's starting to find this lead pace pretty schnell, but certainly Hellriegel never won this race. The champion of Hawaii a couple of years ago. That's certainly he'd love something he'd love to do here. Andreas Nierdrich, surprisingly, is still up there. Nierdrich, who's finished 5th a couple of years ago, then 3rd last year, is looking to go at least one better, if not two better this year. Jürgen Zach, though, is starting to grind away there, and we're waiting for the Zach attack. Is he going to take off? And I suspect if he does, that Hellriegel will go with him. Of course, Zach is the defending champion, first here last year in 8 hours, 3 minutes and 49 seconds. So still, they're trying to be a little cagey here. Mauk is hanging on, but he's starting to find the pressure hard. Of course, the world record was set here a few years ago when Zach finished second to Luc van Leerd, and Zach told us that he's well prepared for this race, and I've done my homework, and training has been very good for the last 6 weeks after what for me was a relaxing start to the season. I think my shape is the same as it was for the last 2 years. Well, he finished 1st and 2nd the last 2 years, so that can't be bad. And he's known for the bike, and we asked him, what about the bike ride? And he said, yes, of course, I have to be strong on the bike because there are some good runners in the field. And I want to drop them on the bike, as this tactic has been good in the past. And I've had a good marathon run. So this year, my plan is the same, to push hard on the bike and then run hard. So they're heading back now. towards the finish of the 180 kilometers of bike riding and 112 miles, and it looks as though we're down to 3. But we've got another lead change in the woman. Ute Mukkel has come back on Nina Kraft, and she retakes the lead. Well, that is incredible stuff. We don't see bike changes that often, and it's normally one way. You pass and that's it. But here we've had a pass and a repass by the fastest swimmer in the field, the girl who's won this race before. She's now, a 31-year-old, is now back in pole position. This is Ute Mukkel. She's always found it a little hard and a little hot in Hawaii, and hasn't really produced the form that she's produced over this race. But of course, this is the favourite for the Germans. This is Germany, and all Germans, men and women, love to win this race here in Roth. So our leader, now she's well into her second lap. But they're losing about an hour on the men. They're well over an hour. But the men, they're coming up. They've finished the 2 laps, and they've got that short bit to take them back to Roth. And here we are back in Roth with our leaders. The lead group of 3. Surprisingly, Neerdrik is still with Zach and Hellriegel. This is very, very good competing by Neerdrik, but Zach runs through. There's his time, 5 hours 6 minutes and 47 seconds. His bike split was 4 hours 14 minutes and 18 seconds, and that's a new course record here. Hellriegel held the bike record of 4:14:45, which he set back in 1997. So Zach now has the bike record here in Roth. That's Neerdrik beside him, Hellriegel just at the bottom. Now who's the fastest through here? Certainly Hellriegel likes to compose himself in these situations, and Zach tends to perhaps be a little, well, not too hurried, but he's most probably the quickest of the 3 of them here. You can see, even after 180 kilometers, 112 miles, there's not a lot of heavy breathing here, is there? These are fit athletes, the fittest in the world maybe, as Zach now heads off into the territory he knows very well. He's won this race 4 times before. First time was back in 1989 when it was only a half Ironman. Then he won it again in 94, repeat in 1995. And 94, by the way, he went 8 hours and 1 minute, which was 1:59, which at that time was the fastest in the world. Then in 1997, when he went, would you believe, 7 hours 51 minutes and 42 seconds, and he didn't win the race. He was second. Of course, last year was his 4th victory in 8 hours 3 minutes and 59, and they are on record-breaking course at the moment. That certainly that bike course record, very fast swim time overall, has put Zach and Hellriegel and indeed Neerdrik on world record form. And not only is there 50 grand up for stakes overall for winning, the first guy across the line and woman gets $14,000, but there's also a, would you believe, $125,000 bonus if anyone breaks that world record of Luc van Leert's. And if anyone gets under, in fact, 7 hours 50, they get a $30,000 bonus. But this is our lead woman, Ute Mukkel. She's pulled away from Nina Kraft. And we understand that Joanna King is now in 3rd position as Mukkel now comes into the bike park. She's going to be 6 hours 3 minutes and 19 seconds. Her bike split 5 hours 13 minutes and 15 seconds, and that's a considerable bit slower than the record holder, is Paula Newby-Fraser, who set the course record of 4:45 back in 1992. So you can see, in fact, Joanne King is in 4th position behind Jodie Cross, Merckx. So that's a tremendous performance by the Merckx lady. She's obviously got some practice and some tuition from not only her husband Axel Merckx, but her her father-in-law, should I say, Eddie Merckx. So this is the run course, 42 kilometers. It winds his way out through the woods to the canal, loops around a few times, which we will see, and then back to the finish. So here's our lead group of 3. Zach, Hellriegel, and already starting to struggle maybe just a little bit is Neerdrik, but who can blame him? It takes some doing to get those leg actions going. And who is this? This is Stormin Norman Stadler's had a disaster on the bike. Looks like he's got mechanical problems.
What's the problem, Norman?
Well, it's an 8-spoke, 4 either side, and one of them is broken. So that means that Norman is out of the race. Well, that is disappointing. He was going extremely well and showing some form over the Ironman. So it's another day for Stormen Norman Stadler, and doesn't he look dejected? But these two guys don't, do they? Hellriegel now is starting to test Zach early on as they go through one of the early feed stations. There's a feed station just about every mile on this 26-mile marathon course as they're now out into the woods. It gets a little lonely out here in places, but in parts of the course there are huge numbers of people cheering them on as they were through the bike course. It really is a sort of a mountain biker's delight round here, trying to catch up the race and get into the vantage points. And you can see already that quite a few mountain bikers are starting to chase them. There's Neerdrick now down in 3rd position. Further back though, this is Rainer Müller-Horner, who's in 5th position with Holger Lawrence, who's had a 5th position a couple of times here. Muller's best position is 2nd back in 1996 when he went 8:08:41. He was 3rd back in 1994, which is his personal best for this course, when he went 8 hours and 4 minutes. So Rainer Müller now in 5th position, but they are a long way behind the leaders, and even Christoph Mauk, who's up in front of them, is something like 5 or 6 minutes down the road. So this is Müller and Holger Lawrence starting to lose touch a little bit here. But look at the crowds behind them, not short of company, are they? This is our 4th place athlete, Christoph Mauk, from Switzerland, only in his 2nd Ironman, and what a debut he had last year in Hawaii when he finished 4th. And of course Spencer Smith of Great Britain finished 5th, and on that occasion the victor was Peter Reid of Canada. Reid has won Ironman Australia this year, and Ironman New Zealand was won by Tim de Boom. That was his first major race, or first major victory over the Ironman distance. So Mauk finished 4th last year in Hawaii, behind Lothar Leder, who finished 3rd. Leder's not racing here, he's concentrating on the shorter distance. This is our 3rd place athlete, Andreas Neerdrick, who finished, this is his 2nd Ironman already this year. He was 3rd in New Zealand when he went 8 hours 37 minutes. So Neerdrick has a tough schedule, because I'm sure he'd like to go to Hawaii. Whether he can afford to go to Hawaii, I'm not sure. But we'll talk about that maybe later in the race. So Neerdrick, a 32-year-old German, been around the scene for some time. Best place here was 3rd last year when he finished 3rd to Jürgen Zach, and Lothar Leder was 2nd. So it looks as though our leader is Thomas Hellriegel, and there's a bit of a gap behind, isn't there? We can't see the 2nd placed athlete. It looks as though Zach is starting to drop off the pace. So Hellriegel's putting the pressure on early on, and in 2nd place is this man, Jürgen Zach. But he's a cagey old warrior. He knows how to pace himself on this course. So Zach in 2nd place. He's something like 100 meters adrift of Thomas Hellriegel at the moment. Time will tell. It's a long race and anything can happen in the marathon. 3rd is Neerdrick. And the cameraman's having a chat with him, saying how he feels, and he says, yeah, it's okay. This is good for me. Good time. He's going quicker than he did in New Zealand earlier this year, when he was around about 8.5 hours. But up front, how about this? Zach's caught Hellriegel. They're at about something like 10 kilometers or so into the race, 11 perhaps, and already Zach is putting pressure back on the youngster. I say youngster, Zach's 33. What's Hellriegel, 28? This is our 3rd place athlete, 4th should I say, Christoph Mauk. And they're on this little out and back course, and we can just see the 3rd place athlete coming the other way. That's Andreas Neerdrick. Zach and Hellriegel have gone up the other way. They're passing now some of the slower athletes who are well off the pace that they're setting. Very strong field at the front of this race, but it's a little weaker further down. So Neerdrik looks like he's a little desperate for the fluids, the sponges. Doesn't look too warm, but certainly it's warming up, not just in the competition, but the weather. And he continues on his marathon run. We're going to go for a final break, and when we come back, we'll see who wins this year Ironman Europe.
Erstaunlich, wie viel zwischen Daumen und Mittelfinger steckt. Klein, leicht, schlau. Das neue Siemens C25. Das hat was. Be inspired.
The World Championships are getting closer. The athletes are getting faster. Grand Prix Athletics is going first to Lausanne, where Burrell set his world record, where the 100-metre merchants are hungry for yet another. Then to the Stade de France in Paris for the premier Grand Prix 2 meeting of the season. Get set to Eurosport. IAAF Grand Prix 1 and 2 Athletics from Lausanne on Friday evening, live. Saint-Denis on Saturday evening on Eurosport.
Welcome back to the crowds at Ironman Europe here in Roth, Germany, and the two warriors are locked in battle at the front. Zach and Hellriegel. They've done this many times before, and certainly Zach has been in this position. And let's have a flashback. This is 1997 when we had the race of the century for triathlon. I say century, the sport's only been going since 78 when it started in Hawaii, and Luc van Lierde, a novice really at the Ironman distance, came into this race with no sort of history, no pedigree over the distance, and he came off the bike 13 minutes behind Jürgen Zach, who led after his traditional bike ride here. He passed this man, Thomas Hellriegel, somewhere around about the 30-kilometer point, and Hellriegel was going hell-bent at winning this race, and that's one thing he still hasn't done. So Hellriegel is in third position, and in fourth position is Lothar Leder, the only man to break 8 hours up to this period of time. Leder broke the 8-hour barrier back in 1996, the year before, when he went 7 hours 57 minutes and 2 seconds and captured that world record. This rookie here went past Zach with something like 3 kilometers to go, and well, as I said, this was an incredible race, because not only did Luc van Lierde win the race in a fantastic time, which is still the world record at 7 hours 50 minutes and 27 seconds, but the first 4 guys went under 8 hours. Only one had done it before. That was Lothar Leder. He was in this race. He was the 4th man to crack the 8-hour barrier in this race, but there's 7 hours 50 minutes and 27 seconds for the Belgian. Then he went on to win the following year, or the same year, the Hawaii Ironman, and he smashed the course record there. This is Jürgen Zach leading at the moment with Thomas Hellriegel. He came through in second position, and look at the time, 7 hours 51 minutes and 42 seconds. He can't believe it, and he's finished second, and that would have been a world record if Luc van Lierde had been in the field. Then Lothar Leder came in. He overtook Hellriegel just before the finish. He came through in 7 hours 57 minutes and 56 minutes and 39 seconds, which was a PB for him. He smashed his world record, which was before this race. And Hellriegel, would you believe, came in 4th position in 7 hours 57 minutes and 21 seconds. Yeah, the first 4 guys broke the magical 8-hour barrier, and this guy, Luc van Lierde of Belgium, holds the world record, 7 hours 50 minutes and 27 seconds. They were on that world record course here. They've dropped a little bit, but it's still going to be a very fast time again. And once again, Thomas Hellriegel has pulled away from Jürgen Zach. It's dig, dig, dig for this man. It's an incredible race. Zach has caught him. He's been dropped again. So they've been back and forth, and Zach really hasn't taken the lead yet. This is incredible. Zach is in second place, and Thomas Hellriegel, the Ironman champion, is leading. Like Nick Kinsey here is coming through for Great Britain, was the British record holder. There's Zach. Sorry, this is Nick Kinsey coming through, wearing number 33. He's now a master, first year in his Masters division, and I can tell you he goes on to win the Masters division in this race. He finishes something like, I think, 41st overall. 9 hours, 12 minutes and 37 seconds for Nick Kinsey. We're back with the women's race. This is the second woman, Nina Kraft, but she's gradually caught back. She's pulled up that deficit after the bike distance, and just in front of her, she can see, she's smiling because she's looking down the road and she can see Uta Mukul. Well, Nina Kraft is having a fine run here. This is our leader, Uta Mukul. It's written on her rear there, and you can see she's suffering just a little bit, and she's going to have a bit of a shock here as Nina Kraft goes by here. Well, this is amazing stuff by Nina Kraft. She caught her on the bike, then lost the lead again. Now she's caught her on the run. Can she carry on though? But behind, we understand that both Joanna King of Australia and the Brazilian Fernanda Keller are going very quick indeed, and they're starting to pull back the deficit of 11 minutes that they had when they started on this bike ride. But this is our leader. This is Nina Kraft. Can she go on? This will be a memorable victory if she can do that. I don't know why she's looking at the watch. Perhaps she's got her timing going. She knows exactly. But just in a few kilometers, so she's pulled away. This is the battle behind between Fernanda Keller in yellow, should I say, and Joanna King of Australia, the world champion over the short course. So an Ironman veteran in the Brazilian Keller is now taking along quite nicely Joanna King, and those two could do some real damage to the leaders, Nina Kraft and Uta Mukul in second place. So that's third and fourth. But this is our men's race again, and it looks as though Jürgen Zach has caught back up. There we are. Look, he's caught Thomas Hellriegel. Well, this is amazing stuff. And looking down, you can see that Hellriegel is starting to shorten his stride a bit. He's starting to suffer. And look at the grimace, the determination on the Zach Attack's face. Jürgen Zach knows that maybe a fifth victory here in Roth is in his grasp. So Hellriegel leads. Zach is in second position. And the crowd's out again. Blowing, isn't he? Thomas Hellriegel really is starting to struggle here, blowing over the Ironman distance. The final marathon run is starting to take its toll on him. He's taking in fluids, he's taking in liquids, he's taking in food, but is it enough? The Zach Attack is right on his heels, and he looks a little more sprightly, doesn't he? Zach is up on his toes. He's starting to gather himself, who knows, for attack. In fact, Zach used to be a 400-meter runner, and I remember I was doing a job with Steve Ovett down in the Koblenz Stadium, where, in fact, Zach comes from. He lives just outside of the Koblenz, and Zach told me that the inspiration for sport was Steve Ovett when he broke broke the world record there for the mile. So Steve, thanks, says Zach. But Zach here, I think he's ready to pounce. He's winding the spring. He sees just in front of them that Hellriegel is not enjoying this latter part of the course, and they've only got something like 3 or 4 kilometers to go. And just remember, back in 1997, Zach was in the same position with Luc Van Leer when Luc Van Leer went past him and blew him away. What's he going to do to Hellriegel? So let's watch. You can see his hair ready to pounce, isn't it? Look at this, what a change of speed. Well, you can expect an 800-meter runner to do that, but not after something like 39 kilometers of running, 180 kilometers of biking, and 3.8 kilometers of swimming. He's done all that before him, and look at the change of pace, and Hellriegel cannot respond. Hellriegel is like, well, he's virtually standing still as the big German piles the pressure on here, piles the speed, and that is the decisive break. Zach is coming up towards the closing stages. I don't know who the young telecom team guy is. This is what awaits him. There's something like 5,000 people in the stadium here at the finish of Roth, and the youngster says, well done, man, you've done it again. It's victory number 5 here for Zach. Tremendous support. The crowds are out in their droves, as they have been all around the course, and he's loving it. They're loving it, because a German once again is going to win on German soil here in Roth, Germany. The 12th running of Ironman Europe in Roth, and the victor is the local boy. Well, I say local, he comes over near from Koblenz, but as far as they're concerned, any German's local here. He really has loved it. And let's savor the moment with Jürgen Zach, who wins Number 5 here. Look at him going. He sees the clock. It's still ticking. 55, 59. What's he given? 7 hours 56. Well, if he'd been a minute quicker, that would have been another $30,000. And if he'd been 5 minutes quicker, it would have been $125,000. Look at the people here. They're packed into this stadium. And Thomas Hellriegel coming in. And would you believe it? He's under 7 hours, under 8 hours again, and he's not going to win. This is amazing. He went 7 hours 57.21 when he finished 4th in 97, and he's going to be just outside that, 7 hours 57 minutes and 50 seconds, and finish 2nd. Well, what does Thomas Hellriegel have to do to win this race here in Roth? That is incredible. And this is also incredible. 3rd position to Andreas Niedrich. He's dropped off the pace a little bit, but he's held on to 3rd position. He thanked someone in the crowd. I think he's given them his flowers, and he has. He doesn't need those. Say, that's extra weight at the end. I'd rather carry the German flag as he goes into the finish line in 8 hours, 3 minutes and 54 seconds. So Zach wins, Hellriegel 2nd and Niedrich 3rd. Christoph Mauk finishes 4th, the position he did in Germany. And Frank Haldorn, returning to the sport after a major surgery, finishes 5th. We caught up with Zach at the end. And, well, we asked him. He said, our reporter, Roy Fisher, says, you seem to be very relaxed and happy compared with Hellriegel, who is very low. Was this because of your preparation? Well, he says it's funny. Is it funny? I don't know. But I'm never down after the finish. I'm always happy after the race. And even if you win, all the happiness and the body relief, they really do cover up the pain. Then you always feel good. And he said, I feel no pain. But after some days, I'll certainly feel the pain. And I've made an Ironman. And the pain, well, that'll come then. Well, how about this? Joanna King, the world champion over the short distance, the Olympic distance, which is a 2-hour race. She's now in her 3rd Ironman, going to have a victory over the Ironman distance. Just to remind you, 3.8 kilometers of swimming, 180 kilometers of biking, and a final marathon run to finish. She took the lead at 9 kilometers to go when she passed Nina Kraft. She dropped Fernanda Keller at around about the 30-kilometer point, and then went from strength to strength and came on to victory in 9 hours, 26 minutes and 59 seconds. Not particularly quick if you consider the world's best is 8 hours, 50 minutes and 53, held on this course by Paula Newby-Fraser, set back in 1994. Well, this is a turn up for the books. Nina Kraft of Germany finishes in 9 hours, 29 minutes and 25 seconds. She said that she couldn't afford to go to Hawaii, so Detlef Kunnel, the race director, has paid her fare. I can tell you he's paid the airfare for her and Andreas Niedrich to go and compete in Hawaii this year. And Ute Muckel, the girl who won here in 1996, has to be satisfied this year with 3rd position in 9 hours, 32 minutes and 51 seconds. That's Detlef Kunnel, and certainly Nina Kraft, who finishes 2nd, says thank you very much. We caught up with our winner, Joanna King, and we asked her about the race here in Roth.
Well, I came into this race, it's my 2nd Ironman for the year. I did the Australian Ironman in May, and it's only my 3rd one ever. I only sort of decided to do it a couple of weeks ago, maybe just sort of as a bit of a training. I needed like a long ride for the World Long Course Championships, which are in 2 weeks. And it was sort of never in my intentions to come and win it. It was just sort of see how I go, and I'm just really happy to win it.
Well, you saw how she goes. She is the 1999 Ironman Europe Women's Champion. And for the men, it was Jürgen Zach. Well, as he has a bath and a shower, I hope you've enjoyed our coverage of the Ironman here in Roth. This is Ian Sweet wishing you well. See you next time here on Eurosport for the sport of triathlon.
Sports Centre with Fila. And Samsung, challenge the limits.
Manchester United have pulled out of the FA Cup. The announcement came today following a week of efforts to find a way of playing both the World Club Cup and the FA Cup.
They're playing to stay alive, and Eurosport is there, live, with commentators who know their European football. Eurosport, the channel for your football. The Champions League, Wednesday at 2100 CET, that's 8 UK, live on Eurosport.
Klagenfurt in Austria now hosts one of the official Ironman. It's called Ironman Austria. And like all Ironman, it starts off with a 3.8 kilometer swim. That's 2.4 miles. After that, they jump on their bike and go 180 kilometers. That's 112 miles. And finally, a marathon run, 26.2 miles or 42.195 kilometers. And to tell us about the race, we caught up with our host, Andreas Richter. Andreas tells us that the triathlon, the Ironman, started back in 1978 in Honolulu, and now there are Ironman throughout the world. This race in Klagenfurt is the 6th Ironman this year, and he welcomes you to this event here in Klagenfurt. Now let's have a look at part of the disciplines. We'll start with the swim, and Mark Allen, 6-time winner of the Ironman, he tells us about it.
The water is absolutely clear. In fact, the athletes, if they got thirsty, they could have a drink before they went out on their bike. I don't think they'll be worried about drinking yet, though, because it will be early in the race. But the main thing is that the last part there, it will be very difficult for anyone to get away because it's very clear where the other athlete is. If somebody's in front of you, you will be able to see them. If you're in the lead, you will also know that. Sometimes in the open ocean or in the open lake swimming, it's more difficult to know your position. Here in Austria, the athletes will definitely know where they're at. They will have the support of the crowd. And if by chance they do feel relaxed, they can look around and see how beautiful the water truly is.
Well, it really is a beautiful place. Great place to come for a holiday. If you're into walking and in the winter, it's a great skiing area. This is Barbara Guanajora from Argentina. She's come a long way to compete in Ironman Austria. She's competed in Ironman Brazil. But being from South America, she's perhaps not too used to using a wetsuit. The water temperature here, well, that's a cool 23 degrees, so the athletes will be able to use a slippery wetsuit.